Okay. All right. And we're letting everyone in now? Okay. I'll wait till everyone gets in the room. All right. Well, welcome everyone to our November Alumni Career Panel. My name is Deon Minner. I'm the Career Services Manager here at the School of Management. I recognize some names of students that I've met with, so I'm glad to see you on the call today. We're going to kind of kick off the call. We have 3 guests that are going to be sharing their various experiences with us about what they do. A couple are alumni. One person is in our doctoral program, which is awesome. We're excited to have her, and her name is Seana, excuse me, Goodson. But the call, I'm going to facilitate the conversation today with some various questions of our guest speakers. And if you have questions, those that have joined us today, feel free to put your question in the chat. We may have some time to allow you to come off mute as well. If you so feel inclined to do so, I mean, please do that. We're going to be conscious of our time today, of your time and of our guest time. So if you want to put your question in the chat, we'll get to it. If for some reason we don't get to all the questions, we will definitely follow up with you with those answers later. All right. Any questions before we get started? Nope. All right. And I just want to say for our current undergrad students, you will earn CDR points for attending today's call. I had to get that in. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to ask our guest speakers or our guests today to introduce themselves. So Andrew, if I may start with you, if you can introduce yourself, kind of give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Andrew Hartman. I did my business BBA finance, graduated in 2011, and I did my MBA and graduated in 2016. And I currently work at Stellantis as a supplier financial analyst.
Awesome, awesome. So supply chain, we have a lot of students
Yes.
in that category. All right, well, I'm gonna pass the mic to Julius. Julius, if you would be so kind to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Julius Rogers. My undergrad was at UM-Flint, graduated 2016 with a BBA focus in marketing. And then my MBA, I graduated in 2022. That concentration was computer information systems. So I've always had kind of an affinity for technology. So I ultimately ended up starting a couple of different businesses, one of them being Justice for All, which is a social justice apparel company, which is things I just make different garments that have passive or direct sayings and phrases on them that actively challenge America's post-racial fallacy in order to stimulate tangible dialogue. The other one that I'm going to actually be more speaking on today is Tech Tronics, which is a small business IT consulting agency, just helping small businesses navigate through the technological transitions that are happening not only now, but within the very, very near future.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. And then Shauna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Seana Goodson. I'm my age, so I'm aging myself. So I have an undergrad, I have a BA in sociology from Georgia State University. I won't say the years.
That's okay.
I have my MBA with a focus in management from Nova Southeastern University, and I'm currently working on my doctorate at University of Michigan-Flint, obtaining my DBA. I am the lead of casting administration at Netflix, where I draft and negotiate talent deals for talent, all types of talent.
Awesome. Nice. Thank you all for joining us today and being part of our panel. I'm going to kind of kick off the questions. And Shauna, if you don't mind, since you were the last to take the first question about your career journey. So first question that I have is, how did you navigate the transition from college to your first job? So kind of thinking back from college, from the classroom to career. How did you navigate that? And were there any unexpected challenges?
Mine is anything but linear. So my story is all over the charts. So during my undergrad, I had my first son in my sophomore year. So that kind of derailed my education a little. So I stopped, I dropped out of school, I went into the workforce. I've always had a passion of law, and I've always had a passion for the entertainment industry. So once I went back to school and started back on that journey, I just kept going from there. And the transition, I said, okay, I need to get my foot in the door some type of way. So I went into a law firm. And from going into a law firm, then I had to marry the two. I had to figure out a way to marry the two together. And then
Okay.
from there, I went on into studios, and then from studios to another entertainment law firm. And then my journey ended here at Netflix. So it's not ended here. Well, this will be my
It's just a stop, right?
because I
This is
love
this
it.
is a
I
pit
love it.
stop,
I love it. I
right?
love it. I love it so much. So yeah, that's kind of, I just didn't have a traditional type of journey. Like
Okay.
I graduated high school, I went to college, and I did all of these things. I went
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
over the place. So
And you
yeah.
know what? The U of M-Flint is we're a commuter school. So we have students that are at different journeys and different, within their college journey, but also career journey. So it speaks to and resonates very well with our student population here. Thank you. So Julius, question for you about your career journey. What was your very first role after graduation? I know you said that, you started here, but then you've pivoted a bit, right? With what you're based on your interests, right? And you're now running two small businesses um, from where you started in your college career. So tell us a little bit about your very first role after graduation, and then how did that shape your career path and journey?
Yeah. Well, I always like every time I do have an opportunity to share information about like kind of what my especially my undergrad journey
Mhm.
has been. It's I always like to share kind of like the roller coaster because there's like there's always ups and downs and
Mhm.
there's different variables that play into how you make it to that final destination of degree,
Mhm.
especially with undergrad. So I always like to share that I originally actually didn't even start out at U of M-Flint. I'm originally from Flint, but my first stop was actually at Central Michigan University. And so I was up there, and I originally wanted to go into broadcast cinematic arts because I have a voice for radio, but I don't
Mhm.
want to. I didn't really want to. I wanted to see what it was like. Quickly
Mhm.
found out that radio does not make a ton of money, and I was like, okay, I need to make a little pivot here. But I still enjoyed audio. Like I'm a DJ, and like I've been DJing for like 15 years, so it's like I still have my space within there. But long story short, went to Central Michigan University. For lack of better words, effed around and found out that you have to actually do work in order to pass classes. So I got academically dismissed from Central Michigan University. That kind of put me in a position of a realization of needing to kind of buckle down and like actually get stuff done and do the work to get the grades that I needed to get, or enter into the workforce and start doing something that wasn't necessarily in my uh, ideal trajectory. So I ultimately just kind of buckled down, got the grades back up, and I was like, I can either enroll back in Central Michigan University, or I can actually transfer over to U of M-Flint and be a little bit more closer to home. And that's when I actually transitioned into the business concentration. So I decided to transition into the business concentration with a focus in marketing because it gave me a little bit more of a broad range of possibilities as to where I could really uh, expand my footprint. As you can
Mhm.
see around me, it's like I have a bunch of art and random things. I'm very creative. I like to do creative things. So I felt like marketing would give me the best opportunity to not only make money, but also express myself in those types of ways. So after I graduated from U of M-Flint, the first job that I was actually able to attain was pretty foundational. It was I worked at a corporate Verizon store as a sales associate, or a solution specialist is what they called them. Um, I, I did that for about a year and a half, and then I kind of more transitioned into some other like marketing slash sales roles.
Mhm.
But that's kind of the first stint of where I started to kind of figure out where I actually wanted to kind of sink my claws into
Mhm.
to ultimately give me a lot of transferable skills that ultimately led me to the point of being my own boss and being being an entrepreneur, having different businesses. Because at the end of the day, you really have to have a plethora of different skills and knowledge in order to run your business.
Mhm.
And so by doing a lot of those different choosing those different career paths, it definitely accumulated a lot of those different soft and hard skills to allow me to, start the business and
Yeah.
keep it rocking.
You're speaking my language. Soft skills, technical skills, exploration, right? So, I mean, I've gotten so many messages just from your journey about exploring. What you start out doing is not where you end up. And even where you end up today is not where you may end up later on, because you have an opportunity to explore in every position that you're in, right? Or that you maybe get in terms of employment and things like that, and really treat it as that. If you fall in love with it, great. Still explore and learn. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey, Julius. All right, Andrew, you're up next. So,
Awesome.
looking back on your career from college, from classroom to career, is there anything you would do differently in your career journey?
Oh yeah. In college, I would have done internships. I didn't do
Mhm.
any. I was working part-time and just didn't feel like I had the time. But looking back, I really wish I had done some internships. It would have set me up for some more success and maybe helped me figure out what I wanted to do when I was still in school. And then networking.
Mm.
It's really, truly, it does matter what you know, but it also matters who you know. And
Mhm.
when it comes to getting that job, that's how I landed back here at Stellantis, because I knew people and had connections. And yeah, networking and internships are two of the things I wish I had done more of back then.
Two of my favorite words, two of my favorite things to do. The students on the call and anyone that you talk to will say, I get emails every week from Dion about internships. And when I talk to them, it's about networking. It's about building that network, building those relationships, right? Even if you meet someone at an event that is not aligned with your major, it's still building relationships, because you never know where that person will end, where they may end up, what organization they may end up with, who they know, or where you may end up, and you can help them along the way, right? So really building that network and building those relationships are so important. Thank you so much for sharing that, Andrew, because you're right. Networking and internships, exploring opportunities within your majors, because what you think you might want now may not be what you want to do when you first leave school. All right, so let's talk a little bit about skills and preparation, things that you've done, to prepare yourself. So, Andrew, I'm gonna pop it back at you. Keep the mic with you here to kind
All
of
right.
talk a little bit about um, what were the most important soft skills that helped you advance, and how can students develop those skills?
Yeah. So I think the most important soft skill is really just being friendly,
Mm.
giving people a smile, and finding a way to connect with your coworkers. A piece of advice I was given a long, long time ago is that your customer is not just your customer. Your manager is your customer. Your coworkers are your
Mhm.
customer. They all
Mhm.
have to buy what you're selling. And so if you
Mhm.
can find a way to make a connection to get them to buy in that you know what you're doing, then you can be really successful. So, and it starts with a smile. It's just being friendly to
Yes,
people.
yes, yes. I love that. Just being open, positive attitude, positive energy, right? And
Absolutely.
that connection and that networking doesn't stop when
No,
you leave an event. It doesn't stop when you're following up, right? Those aren't the only things that you do when you're building those relationships and networking, but you're absolutely right. It starts with a smile, it starts with positive energy and connecting with people. You have to talk to people. You got to
yep,
talk to people to build relationships. So email is one way, texting, however, what other ways, social media, but having that conversation
yes,
is golden. That's the golden ticket, right?
yep,
It's having a conversation.
I
So thank
agree.
you for that. Shauna, now let's talk about skills, or let's talk about this. Were there any surprising skills or lessons that you learned from college that ended up being unexpectedly useful to you?
Yes, yes, the dreaded group projects. A lot of us do not like working in groups. A lot of us like to stay in silos and not do the group projects. But for me, what group projects help you with is, and I'll say this to the students, it helps you build relationships. It teaches you how to work with different personalities. It teaches you how to just focus and concentrate. It teaches you how to manage in the real world, because for me, I have a very strong personality. Anyone who knows that can attest. I have a super strong personality. So I'm always the one in the groups that's saying, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. So my very first group at UM-Flint I was in this group, and it was on NIL and deep fakes and AI, because that's my concentration, is AI in the entertainment industry for my dissertation. And this one guy, we were like button heads. He's military. He was like, oh no, he said he went home and he talked to his wife and said, listen, his wife said, let her have it. This lady runs stuff. She's a boss. Leave her alone. Just kind of follow her lead and you'll get along. He's one of my best friends to this day. So I think the group projects, even though we don't like them, and even though we know some pull more than others, I think it's so helpful. It'll be very useful, because when you go out into that real world, you're going to work with so many different personalities, so many people. You're going to have to collaborate with so many things, especially in certain types of industries, you will. Unless you're an engineer. Well, I think engineers, they still collaborate with people. So I think the group projects.
That is excellent. I mean, to really take it back to the classroom, right? And even in your DBA program and where you are in your career, you're still like, hey, I have to work with different personalities, different walks of life. U of M-Flint, if your group project is online or virtual or in person, because we're a commuter school and we have people of different age and nationalities and different parts of their career, right? You're going to have a nice mix of people that you're working with.
Right.
Just like real life, when you go out into the world and into your career, same stage, same cast of characters, not to use your industry, but still same cast of characters, right? Different cast of characters that you're going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
And learning how to communicate and work together is just one of the ingredients, right, to the recipe, if you will, of career.
I work with so many different, I work with opposing counsel, I work with casting directors, I work with agents, I work with managers. And all of these people, if anyone knows anything about the entertainment industry, entertainment attorneys, agents, managers, talent, could be a nightmare. So you have to know how to do it. And I echo on what Andrew says. It's all about relationships and emotional intelligence. You have to be able to read a room. You have to know how to deal with people. I negotiate deals every day, all day. So I know how to handle certain agents a certain way. I know how to handle different people to close my deals.
Right. Right. Emotional intelligence that's a whole nother topic, but it's really important. So if you're not aware, for those of you that have joined our call today, aware of what that is, I would ask, do a little bit of research on it and just to understand what emotional intelligence is, because it really will help you in formulating those relationships, but also on how you communicate with others. So I just want to say that. All right, Julius, tell us a little bit about are there any universal skills you believe apply across professions?
Yeah, I mean, foundationally, yes. So there's definitely a ton of different skills. I mean, Seana talked to it, Andrew talked to it. It's like there's a ton of different transferable skills that can stretch across those ones. The ones that I normally promote are communication, and also punctuality. Those are two things that I feel are like as long as you could really be like a super rock solid, crazy good professional in whatever field that you're in. But at the end of the day, if you don't know, like, number one, how and when to communicate, and you don't know how to just be on time. I mean, they're super basic skills, but
Right.
they're transferable and they go a long way. I work, I mean, IT is like the SMB IT is like kind of where I land in, but I also organize the city's Juneteenth event here in Grand Rapids. So it's like I have to work with, more to Shauna's point, it's like working within that like entertainment space. I'm contacting like, artists and vendors and contractors and all of these people to kind of accumulate to, sync up on this one day to like have everything kind of go in the way that I need it to go. In communication, like respond to people within like arguably 24 to 72 hours, period. Like full stop. Like just respond to people within 24 to 72 hours, regardless of whatever it is. If you don't know the answer, let them know that you're working on it. If you do know the answer, just knock it out. Just respond to people.
Yes.
Because you never know, like, because people are like, everybody's busy, everybody has stuff going on, everybody has all these different variables that are in their lives. And the quicker and the more like resourceful you can be in just responding to people goes a long way. You become that person that is reliable, consistent, and dependable on regardless of what it is, even if you don't even know what the answer is. I'm a strong proponent of like, I may not know what the answer is, but I definitely know how to find it. So it's like, it's one of those things where you just respond to people, communicate, like
Yeah.
use your words. Like, so if you need more time, tell them that you need a little bit more time. So just punctuality and communication are probably like the largest, very simple, very foundational, but extremely transferable skills, regardless of what industry you're going into, whether it be engineering, entertainment, marketing, it doesn't matter. Just be on time, do what you say you're going to do, and just make sure you communicate that to people.
Yes.
Because it really just goes a long way.
It really does. We were I was joking with you, but it's something that I've heard back in college, even high school. It's if you're on time, you're late.
Yeah.
If you're early, you're on time, right? So I'm sure all of us on this call have heard 15 minutes early to an appointment, to an interview, to whatever it is that you have. That's being on time when you're early. When you get here at 12 o'clock, when the party starts, you're late. So think about when you show up to work at the time that you're supposed to already be in motion, you're late, right? And you're exactly right, Julius. It's foundational, it's basic, it goes a long way. Communication, that's one of the things when you get an email, acknowledge. Acknowledge that you got it, right? If you know you can't answer it right then and there because you have 50 other balls that you're juggling, acknowledge, I got you, I see the email, and I will follow up with you in this time frame and then follow through on what you said you're going to do. Absolutely. So thank you for that. The next area that I want to kind of get into is industry and professional life. And so, Julia, since you're already talking about this, and I know this is going to be right up your alley, how has technology changed your role? And what changes do you anticipate in the future? You're already in this space, so I know that you're going to have some really good, juicy stuff to tell us about when it comes to about technology.
It's like, I don't know. No, just kidding. No, no, oh God, that's a loaded question.
I know it is, isn't it? So
That,
just give us one little piece. Give us one little
yeah, no, uh, without diving into a massive rabbit hole of like everything that is going on currently within the space of technology, um, I would say, I mean, has it changed? Like, basic answer, yes, because technology changes literally every single day, regardless of how you're using it or how it's being applied. Um, it it's I'll maybe talk more to the point of like what can we do in order to uh, prepare ourselves for this change, like
Okay.
the change that is currently here and the change that is potentially going to come. So the one thing that I actually, because I went to this, I was at a seminar, and his name was, I think, Kevin White. He stated one thing, which is again another foundational transferable skill that literally anybody can do immediately right after this call, is just start learning. If you haven't started learning about anything that has to do with artificial intelligence, machine learning, large language models, those types of things, start learning immediately, because everything that everybody is kind of the media has been stating, like, oh yeah, well, um, they've been making strides with quantum computing, and like, all of these, qubits and these different, like, measures of technological advances. They think that these things, like a lot of the general public thinks that these things are going to be progressing over the next like 5 to 10 years. And in reality, it's actually going to be happening in the next like 2 to 5 years, and arguably 2 to 4 years. And it's going to come in like it's going to come in like a brick to the head if you have no idea what is going on or how to actually use or apply the tools that are within that space. So I would say that if you're unsure or the extent of your knowledge of AI is ChatGPT or generative AI like type of applications, I would definitely encourage you to number one, do a little bit, definitely do more research on it, and number two, like, get a couple of certifications or classes or something to learn a bit more and to get a little bit deeper understanding of how these things are being applied. Shauna is doing the work of the gods of doing, like, specifically within entertainment, of focusing on AI's application for entertainment. That's a whole like soup of, I don't even know. Like, she obviously can speak better more to that than I can, but it's like that's just one industry.
Right.
That is literally one industry that AI is going to be immediately affecting. So if you think about the Industrial Revolution, and I'm trying not to ramble. But it's like, if you think about the Industrial Revolution and how that impacted just specifically the United States economy, it's like it put a lot of people to work, but it also took away a lot of responsibility. It took a lot of jobs, but it also applied a lot of jobs. This is in a completely different like spectrum. Like, artificial intelligence and the multitude of applications that it can be applied is going to be removing work, but it's not going to be replacing it. It's going, like, people who actually know how to use the technology, know how to apply it, understand the different applications of the different methods and tools within that regard. Those are the people who are going to be, quote unquote, hired in order to actually use these things in whatever industry, like even for, like, Andrew, within finance. I mean, there's going to be applications and algorithms that will be able to knock those things out. But as long as you understand how to use the tools and know how they're being applied to the business, you'll put yourself in a much better position to combat the change that is going to happen much sooner than we are marketing it to be happening.
Right. So what I'm hearing is level up on your knowledge about AI.
Yes.
If you don't know anything beyond ChatGPT, you need to learn things beyond ChatGPT, at least understanding. And again, leveling up, that's the simplest way I can say it. Level up on your knowledge about AI. When just a year ago, we're all hearing AI is going to take your job. They're taking jobs. Well, as you said, it's going to replace and streamline and make some things more efficient and quicker. I mean, we all have used ChatGPT, I'm sure. Anybody say you haven't? I don't believe you. So, it's quicker, right? We're getting information faster than having to look at up things and research. So it's allowing us to do that, but we need to level up our knowledge and understanding of how to use those tools. And like you said, Julius, how that's going to be incorporated into the industries that we are either currently in or are even our majors, right? And in the accounting arena and marketing and supply chain. How are those industries or majors using AI? That's a great research paper, and something to look at. And hopefully you're learning about that in the classroom today. But very great message. Thank you, Julius, for that. Andrew, to what extent, my question for you is, to what extent do you depend on collaboration with others to accomplish your work and your day-to-day?
Yeah, it's paramount.
Is it?
So it's a little bit of individual, but there's a lot of group work as well. Because when I'm doing a financial review of a supplier, I want to discuss it with my coworkers, make sure that what I'm seeing is what they're seeing, that the story that the numbers are telling us is really what it is. And then when we have a distressed supplier and we're getting out, it becomes a huge team effort. Engineering, quality, purchasing, everyone is all hands on deck to figure out where we're going, how quickly we can get there, and what it's going to cost. So yeah, teamwork is paramount to what we do.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work. Really, it does. And I think we spoke about it a couple of questions ago, right? About the networking, the building relationships. It doesn't stop at the external things that you're doing, in your college journey or during your college journey. But once you, are in a place in an internship or even your full-time gig after college, teamwork is part of it's just part of the formula of being successful.
Absolutely.
Right? None of us are successful alone. It takes, not to be cliche, but it takes a village, you know what I mean, in terms of our teams, because we don't have all the answers alone. Someone else has the expertise in one area. I think of it as a puzzle. This is my space, this is my piece, this is the other person's piece. And how do we all come together to make this complete puzzle, right? And to make decisions. And at the end of the day, how are those decisions impacting revenue? How are they impacting our expenses? How are they impacting our bottom line or our top line? Because at the end of the day, for-profit companies, I think all of you are in that space. How is it impacting us in those manners, right? So thank you for that. Seana, what qualities, and I don't know if tell me if this resonates with you and what you do, but what qualities do you notice in new hires or interns to help them stand out, that would help them stand out?
I would say curiosity. That's one of our pillars for Netflix. We have a culture memo. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's out there floating around. But curiosity and humility, like I love to see people asking smart questions, staying curious, wanting to know more, because that's so important in this industry. It's just, it goes a long way. Like, you stay curious. I'm always curious. Even at this far that I am in my career, I'm always curious. I'm always picking up a book to learn more or finding out ways. I'm a mentor, but I also have a mentor. I'm always cascading stuff down to my mentees. So I think curiosity is key. But I love to see, like, this newer generation, how curious they are. They blow me away. One of them is on the call, my son. He's on Vernon Tucker. Raise your hand. He's curious. He's always wanting to know more. Like, why do we do that? When I was growing up, you didn't ask why. You just did, right? So, and humility is so important, because in this industry, I started as a receptionist, believe it or not. I was a receptionist. So you have to be so humble, because you never know, that receptionist that's sitting at that desk one day might be an executive. So and this industry is so big, but it's so small. So I think remaining humble is something that's so necessary, because I know people who started off as junior attorneys who are now vice presidents, who are all these big people. So I just think those things stand out. So when I'm looking, when I'm on my search, I want them to be curious. I want them to, I want to see their humility. I want to see that. It's so important for me.
Absolutely. Andrew, you have a question?
No, I just wanted to add on to what Seana was just saying. Along with that humility, the interns that I see to do the best, the new grads I see to do the best are the ones that come in and are willing to just get their hands dirty and dive right into the work. They don't act like they're not expecting anything. They're not going to be handed anything. They just want to get in and do the work. And those are the ones that really, really shine.
That's right.
That's great.
That's 100% correct. Yeah, because when they come in and they're so curious and they want to learn, like me, like when I came in, I didn't have any airs about me. When I came in as a receptionist, I already had a degree, and people's like, "You're crazy. You have a degree and you're gonna be a receptionist." It didn't matter to me because I knew what I was segueing into what I would do. I know once I get somewhere, I know what I'm gonna do. I know that I'm gonna just keep elevating myself. Just like I said, being curious, like just elevating, and never be too big for your britches, kids.
Exactly. Julius, what about you?
Yeah, and just to kind of like double click on that whole thing, don't be afraid to like fail as well. I feel like that's a lot of I know definitely for me when I was starting out and like either like an internship or like a entry level position coming out of school, it was like you're always wanting to read the rules like so very precisely and wanting to do it correct every single time. And one thing that I learned, because I used to work in a bank, and banks are, especially anything that is like anything that is on like a federal level from a bank standpoint, they have procedures and they have like things that are supposed to be done in a particular way, but there are like very, very few things that especially entry level employees have access to that cannot be reversed, that can't be like repaired in some type of way. So it's mostly about making the mistake and then learning from it. Just make the mistake. Just like more to Andrew's point, get your hands dirty. Like just do the thing, make the mistake, get messy, Miss Frizzle in the house, like just do those things and then learn from those things, and then continue to more to Shauna's point, like iterate and grow, iterate and grow, iterate and grow.
Yeah.
Like but you gotta be willing to fail, because if you're not going to be willing to fail, especially as like an entrepreneur, like you're like it.
How do you learn? How do you grow?
Like
How do you
gotta
course correct, right? How do you improve? You don't. You'll continue to do things the same way every time and not grow. So I love thank you all for your advice with that. Yeah, the jumping in and not the humility piece, just jump, like, what can I help with? You'll all have a title, right? In whatever role, entry level role, mid level, whatever it may be. Everyone has a title, they have responsibilities. But at the end of the day, the best teams are those that say, all hands on deck, what do we need to do? Right? I was a regional manager in the staffing industry, but when we got an order for 50 people for the next day, I'm like, what do you all need? I went to my recruiters. What do you all need me to do? Where do I need to recruit from? You guys tell me what I need to do. That's a great team, right? And that's how you get things done, and not be so hung up on, well, this is my lane and this is all that I am supposed to do. That's not how businesses succeed. That's not how teams succeed. And that's not how individuals succeed. So all the things that were said are all part of those ingredients into being successful. All right, let's talk a little bit about challenges and resilience. I'm gonna talk to you, Julius, because you mentioned this about failing. Do you have any professional failures you like to share and how you overcame them? Looked a little shocked there. You're like, do I? How much
failures. What are you
time do I
talking
have?
about? No, yes, multiple, multiple upon multiple failures. But I don't necessarily categorize them as like failures. I just more categorize them as just like learning experiences. Especially if you're like not, practicing insanity and just kind of doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Right.
Just in my professional an educational journey, like one of the like quote unquote failures or, you know, shortfallings was the one that I stated earlier, where it's like I originally went to Central and then I got academically dismissed. That puts you in a position of like, yeah, like feeling as though you have failed. And also at the same time, it presents an opportunity for you to grow from that. More in the professional sense, there's been a multitude of times where I've, you know, either maybe done like a misstep on a procedure, or like, you know, done something incorrectly, especially working at the bank. Like there's a ton of different ways for you to mess something up because they literally have it listed. This is how it's supposed to go. This is what needs to be done in this particular scenario. So it just kind of, for me, it's one of those things where it's like, it depends on how you address the shortcoming. Like again, it presents an opportunity. You can either grow from it, or you can kind of sit, wallow, and just kind of fester in whatever that, like, you know, beat yourself up about it. I think that everybody, not to do a broad stroke, but I feel as though everybody is like their own worst critic. Like you know,
Absolutely.
you are trying your best to, you know, reach for this aspiration of what you want to accomplish, and if you fall short of that, you know, you're just beating yourself up thinking that, like, you know, I didn't even get to where I wanted to be. But if you look, like, literally just look behind you for a second, you can see that, like, you were here, and maybe you wanted to be up here, and you made it like right here. That's still a massive accomplishment.
Absolutely.
That's that, you know, short story of my um journey through creating the Juneteenth event here in Grand Rapids. Is like the first time I did it was in 2021, and it was bootstrapped. I had it outside in one of the parks in downtown, and I had like maybe 300 people show up, and I was like, all right, cool. 300 people show up to the event, and there was a few vendors, and it was cool. The next year I did it, I took what I learned from that one, flipped it, iterated, and we had 600 people show up. And I was like, all right, cool. It's clearly this is the way to go. Did it again, flipped it, iterate. We had over 1,000 people show up the next year. Flip it, iterate it. The next year we had 2,500 people show up. And then this past June, there were 4,000 people that were in Calder Plaza in downtown Grand Rapids that were at like there for the event, for the Juneteenth event that originally only had 300 people there. So it's just like, and don't get me wrong, throughout the entire process, multiple failures, so many failures, like lots of money gone. Like the amount of money that I lost on the first like 3 years of that event is laughable. But there's you know, lessons to be learned from going through that process. It's like, I'm at this point a thought leader within festival events within the city of Grand Rapids. So if people are trying to throw an event, they talk to me about these things and bounce ideas off of me, so that way I can pass that knowledge on to hopefully encourage people to either not make the same mistakes, or at least know what to do when those mistakes occur. So again, it's not necessarily knowing how to do it, it's knowing how to find the answers.
Yes, absolutely. Andrew or Seana, any comments on that question? Any failures that you've experienced and that you want to share?
I can say for me, early on in my career, when I felt like rejected, like I thought I should have got a promotion that I didn't get, not in Netflix, other place.
Okay.
And I took that rejection and as feedback, because I'm big on feedback, because our culture too is feedback. So I'm big on feedback. So I took the rejection, and then I went back to find out what things did I miss? Why didn't I get it? So from those things, I took it and I built on those. And I said, okay, now I know I need to do this. Now I should be doing it this way. So like Julius said, you just flip it. Like, okay, they said that I wasn't assertive enough. I'm the most assertive person there is on this planet now. I mean, like, I'm so confident. I get up every morning, I look at myself in my mirror and I said, girl, you are the every morning. So it's just that rejection, I think, is not rejection. I think it's it's just a setback, but every setback is a comeback, you know?
That is true.
I'll drop the mic on that.
All right. I like to take two words, rejection and failure. It's really a perspective thing, right? So as Julia said, if you take that failure, if that's what you want to call it, and you sit in that forever, then you're not going to move. So, but if your perspective is, okay, it just wasn't time for me to have this, or what didn't I know? Reflect. I didn't get the result that I was looking for, or I'm gonna tell you, and Anna can attest to this. In my first few months, there was something that I didn't know that cost, right? That ended up being an expense. I didn't know, but I learned from that, right? Big time. So it wasn't a reversible opportunity to take it back or anything. It was what it was, and I learned from that. But it was I didn't know. So I know now, but reflection, something I tell our students, our interns, and even our graduates that are within their roles, something that to establish and make a habit, if you will, is with your managers, check in weekly. Reflect on what your week was like. What could have gone well? What went well? What didn't go so well? And ask for that feedback. Feedback is such a gift. Be open to that feedback. Some feedback you may not want to hear. Throughout my career, I've gotten some pretty constructive feedback, and it was like, oh, let me go and curl up for a minute, but let me get out of it, right? And then we learn from it. And how do I become better and stronger? And where do I want to be? And how do I want to grow? So all great advice. Thank you all for sharing that.
Dion, I'm gonna bounce off on when you were talking about the mistake that you made. So
Yeah.
I've learned along the way to just like own it as well and just face
Yeah.
the fact that you made a mistake. We're all humans, and I'm okay with saying, because I'm a perfectionist at heart, so it is hard to say, oh, I made a mistake. But over the years, you learn that you can just be like, hey, this happened, how can I fix it? And I find that, people have your back. Your supervisors usually have your back, and they'll help you fix it along the way. But so I just wanted to bounce off of.
Yes, thank you. And Julius, you had something to add?
Yeah, I was gonna say more to that point is like in the same regard of like those transferable skills of like communication and punctuality, accountability.
Yes.
Accountability is absolutely massive, because when you do make the mistake or you do make the failure or you do have that shortcoming, especially if it's like under some type of supervision of like a manager or a supervisor or whatever, having accountability is multifaceted, because it, number one, allows them to understand, like allows the supervisor to know that you understand what the mistake was, and that that you're going to make efforts to make sure that the mistake does not happen again.
Absolutely.
But you have to have the accountability. You can't just be like, oh, well, I don't know what happened. Like I was doing this thing, and then it just popped up, and I don't know. It's like, yeah, but there are actions that you took within that regard to that perpetuated whatever was going on. So
Absolutely.
accountability is right
Yes.
there with all of those other transferable skills through any
Absolutely.
industry, through any profession. As long as you have accountability, even if it's something that you is going to either potentially get you fired or get you reprimanded or get some type of warrant, it's like, just take the accountability, because
Yes.
by all means, it will. Number one, I would respect the person that takes accountability for their shortcoming rather than the person that tries to pawn it off on something else,
or make excuses,
or make an excuse, or make some type of like elaborate explanation or justification as to why they did something. It's like, I don't really care about that. I just want to know what happened, why it happened. Do you understand why this shouldn't happen, and make sure that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah. What do we need to do next time so that we don't get the same result?
Yeah.
Or outcome.
So accountability is like, Anna is on point.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That is so important. Let's talk about personal satisfaction and balance. Andrew, how do you practice work-life balance in your field?
That is a great question. And for a while during COVID, I was not. I was working from 9 to 5, and then I was logging back in at 10, 11 o'clock and working for another 2 or 3, 4 hours. And it took switching companies to give me a fresh start, to reset my boundaries. Work ends at 5 o'clock, and that's when family time starts. And so it's just about setting those boundaries and holding those boundaries, and knowing what's important. And at the end of the day, my kids are the most important thing to me, and seeing them is the most important thing. Work will be there tomorrow.
Absolutely. Seana, what about you? Work-life balance.
I'm still learning that. For me, I just try to stay present of wherever I am. So if I'm in school, I'm present. If I'm in the office, I'm present. If I'm spending time with my sons, I'm present. So I just, like I said, I'm still learning. Like it's no real thing. And to Andrew's point, during COVID, like, oh my gosh, LA, we were locked down for 3.5 years. So I only had one son in the house at the time. I have 3 sons, by the way. I only had one in the house, and he and I just we made it work together. We grew together, we cooked, we did everything together. But when it's time to sit down and do the work for work, I was working like crazy because I'm in animation. So animation, we never stopped. We worked nonstop. Other parts of the industry shut down, like live action, we continued to work. So and during that time, I'm working all of these hours for work. Then I started a hair care business, and my son was my my CFO. And then from there, then we cooked together, just everything. So I just kind of, like I said, I just stay present wherever I am. I stay in the moment. I give myself grace. I just stay in the moment.
Okay. Julius, what about you?
What is work-life balance?
You're running 2 companies, events.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Now, how do you balance that? How do you balance that? Or what is your definition of balance? That's probably a better question in anybody's world. Like, what's your definition of balance?
Undefined. No, it's more of like more to Shauna's point is like I try my best to be intentional about how, when, and where I spend my time. I know what I'm doing where, and this isn't something that I knew immediately when I jumped out of college. I was like, all right, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna do this and this, and it wasn't that. It was like, all right, I'm basic, I was working at Radio Shack, and this is like in my undergrad. It's like working at Radio Shack. It's like, okay, I'm either doing classes or I'm working at Radio Shack, or I'm just like, doing something, stupid, like, something that a 20 something is gonna, I mean, not that, okay. I was like 18, like between 18 and 22, you're doing something stupid. Okay. I'm just being real. But it's like within that regard, I was doing that, but it's like, when I finally got into more of a space of like, okay, now I'm actually, I got 2 kids. I got a daughter, and she's 5. My son's 2. So it's like, you got to be really, really intentional about how you're spending your time, when you're spending your time, like where you're spending your time. So the ways that I at least operate it now within like, my business practice is between 10 a.m. and arguably like 4:35 p.m. That's work time. I'm doing something that is progressing, something to do with either of my businesses, or I'm going to a networking event, or I'm talking to somebody, or I'm emailing somebody, or I'm doing a project, or I'm doing that is work time. After 5, I don't exist. Like for any of it. I mean, unless something is actively on fire and you need me to like get something like immediately like released, or access to something, and literally nobody else can do it but me, I will do that. But if that's not it, I am in a different dimension. I'm with my kids, I'm with my wife, I am making sure that I am giving them the attention that they deserve within that regard. And I'll also put this at the end of it, because I always like to share this when I'm doing different panels for things, but it's one of the wisest things that I've ever heard, and I share it as often as I can. the highest consumed non-renewable resource in the entire world is time.
Mm-hmm.
The highest consumed non-renewable resource in the world is time.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be sure about how you're spending it, where you're spending it, and what you're spending it on.
Can you send that to me in an email, please? Because I need to put it on my board on a t-shirt and a mug.
I'll throw it on a t-shirt for you.
Thank you. That is so true. And I just like to share a little bit about early in my career. I was excited. I worked for the same organization for 28 years. And when I tell you I was excited, I loved my job. I grew within that organization from the recruiter to, national account manager, whatever, but a lot of responsibilities. Early on, I didn't have any boundaries. I worked and worked and worked and worked more. Was in the office late, traveled, no children at the time, and I worked. And my husband would say, when are you shutting it off? I'm watching TV, I'm eating, you have to set boundaries because you burn out. And I got to some burnout points, right? But then, as Julius mentioned, when you think about time, the time we spend and what we do, being intentional about where you spend your time, being present in whatever you're doing is so, so important. If it's school, be present. I had my staff tell me, you're not present when we're doing one-on-ones because you know what? You're talking to me and I'm still trying to respond to emails. That was lessons learned early in my career when I had staff trying to do everything and be everything to everybody. It doesn't work. There's only one you, and the time you spend definitely being present and intentional with it. So yeah, I know. Oh, go ahead, Julius.
Well, also I'll say, like, more to that point, there's no such thing as multitasking.
No, there is not.
That's not
So don't put it on your resumes
Yeah.
because there is not. It doesn't exist.
If you think you're a multitasker, you're lying to yourself.
Mm-hmm. Love that. You're absolutely right. All right. I know we have a couple of minutes. Looks like we have some questions in the chat. Thank you all for answering the questions, Andrew, Seana, and Julius.
Yeah, we do have a question. So,
Okay.
Jordan asks, with work-life balance, how can this be different from an eager employee intern wanting to succeed? Would boundaries in the beginning be seen as not hardworking? Who wants to go ahead and take that one?
I'll take a stab at this one.
Okay.
I think that no, I don't think boundaries are going to be perceived as not hardworking. I think it depends on your industry. But I think most managers these days understand that we're not robots and we can't work all the time. And if you're putting in a good effort while you're at work, you don't need to put in a 12 or 16 or 18-hour day. If you're doing what you're doing and you're asking, hey, what else can I help with? That's going to be what sets you apart. Not how many hours you're working, but how impactful are the hours that you're there. That's what makes you successful. And so I think set your boundaries, protect your time, protect your peace. Don't sell yourself out just to try to impress someone.
Great answer. Julius or Seana, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I can add to that. I think that, Andrew's definitely right. Like, you have to be intentional about what I mean, I think both Seana and Andrew like stated something about boundaries. And if you're not familiar with kind of like what the spectrum of where that lies, like, just do a little bit of research on it, just understand what your boundaries are, understand what your non-negotiables are. You have to you gotta stand like 10 toes down on them. Like there's things that there's things that I just will not, I refuse to participate in because of my principles and my morals and my ethics. And regardless of what the opportunity is, regardless of the amount of money that is offered within that regard, I just won't do them because I know that they will impact me negatively and they will impact my family or like my space negatively. But from more to the, I guess, point of the question with the work-life balance, differentiating the difference between like an eager employee or an intern wanting to be successful, that's just I would argue that, you know, having the foundational skills that I talked about of like, if you're showing up on time, if you're completing everything that is asked of you, if you're asking questions, more to Shauna's point, out of curiosity, trying to figure out, like, you know, if you don't know what it is, ask instead of just like trying to bulldoze through it and like get tumbled in whatever might be there. If you're actively engaging and being present in what you're ultimately trying to accomplish, that's like, to me, that's hardworking. Like, that's you trying to get done what you're trying to complete the task that is being asked of you, in the best way that you possibly can. Anything outside of that, if you're like, you know, again, going like, you know, the, you know, 50, 60 hours a week, like if you don't got any kids, I mean, sure, do your thing if that's where you want to live. But it's not, I don't believe that it's necessary to do that, especially in today's day and age. Like, you do not need to go like 50, 60 plus hours just to show that you're going above and beyond in your industry. If that's what they're requiring of you in order to get some type of like promotion or to move to the next level, then it sounds like you might need to change industries or change the like space that you're in within that industry, because that is not like, no, I don't know. And I know of multiple successful people that are in a multitude of different industries that are not working 50, 60 plus hours just to like get to the next level. You don't need to be doing all that. Like, you gotta, like, your mind, body, spirit, all of that stuff is so much more important than, like, I'll say this. I'm gonna end on this. Arguably, and this is a random statistic, so don't quote me on this. Arguably, 98% of businesses, for-profit businesses that are like on a larger scale, you could drop dead in the middle of their lobby and they would have your job position open at the end of the day. Spend your time wisely.
Spend your time wisely. And I'm just going to put out a shameless plug for myself as your career development manager. If you are at a point, you're early in your career, you're currently in a career and you're doing online school, whatever it may be, and you want to talk through some of this, right? You feel like, you know, I am having a hard time setting boundaries. This is how I'm feeling at work. I've been there, done that. I've learned from it, and I've learned to set boundaries. Anna might argue with me a little bit on that because I do work some late nights here and there, but not too late. But just really, as Julia said, 50, 60 hours is not needed. You need to be able to think, you need to be able to plan, you need to be able to execute, you need to be able to just be impactful, right, in your role into the organization. Schedule some time with me if you like to talk through that, if you feel like you're going through that right now, just so that we can kind of understand where you are and how to move from where you are to a more balanced, to the best of your ability, work life situation. All right. I know we're a little bit after the time of our call. I appreciate everyone staying on. If you do have other questions, please feel free to email either Anna or myself, and we'll get them out to our panelists for a response. But we appreciate everyone's attendance today. Shauna, Andrew, Julius, thank you so much for your insights, and thank you for participating today. We appreciate you.
Thank you for putting this together. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.